Apple should not be releasing iPhones every year. There are only 5 iPhones they should have made over the last 15 years. Now I know you think I'm nuts, but after watching this video, I think you'll agree with me. Hey, you, part of that 98% watching this video that's not subscribed. Am I doing something wrong? Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know. But if you are enjoying this, go ahead and give me a subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Let's not waste any time and get right into it. The original iPhone ushered in a new era of what smartphones should look like. Yes, there are other phones out there that use touchscreens, but most of them incorporated a keyboard or numerous preset function buttons on the front of the screen. Hell, that's what I was using. I'll be honest, I wasn't sold on what Apple was introducing for a couple reasons. Number 1 was the price. It was expensive. And 2, it was lacking support for most of the things I was using. But you can't deny the fact that the spectacle Steve Jobs made when introducing this phone intrigued people so much that it revolutionized what phones would look like forever. 99.9% of the functions on the phone were with your finger. Aside, of course, from the volume and power buttons. The only button on the front of the screen was the home button, and that allowed you to exit your apps and get back to the home screen. Of course, let's not forget that it also put your music and web browser on one device, effectively putting their own super successful product, the iPod, on notice that it would eventually become obsolete.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Now, I know many people, including myself, who didn't totally buy into Apple until the 3G. It changed my life because I never would have started making videos on YouTube. But what I did doesn't make something revolutionary. The 3G was certainly exciting to see because it was more widely available to people, but honestly, I still don't see it as revolutionary, but an evolution of the original iPhone. I am, however, gonna add the 3GS to this list because it did add another huge function that changed the way that we use our phones today, and that's the ability to shoot video. Was it good? No. But it's what we had, and it would allow people to make videos and post them right to YouTube from our phones. If you look on YouTube for 3GS video, you might see one of my videos uploaded right from my phone. On second thought, don't do that.
TP flyers. I got our food. Testing out my portion of the camera, and I'm gonna throw this bad boy up.
The next phone on my list is the iPhone 4, introduced in 2010. Probably my favorite style of iPhone ever. This phone brought a completely new design that made it look more durable and added great style to it. What makes it revolutionary is 2 things. The absolute biggest was Apple, for the first time, incorporating its own chipset, introducing the A4. For most people, this doesn't really mean anything, but as we learned the last couple years, the silicone chip is what's currently helping revolutionize laptops and the desktop market. Apple could have easily let the current makers of processors run their phones and be totally fine. However, they saw potential and ran with it. The second is it took the ability to shoot much more usable video, coming in at 720p, which technically is high definition. This began a serious leap into our smartphones becoming the powerful cameras and video shooters that we have today. Sadly, in 2011, Steve Jobs would pass away. While his legacy will never be forgotten, he had been grooming his replacement for many years in Tim Cook. It was also very clear that the next number of devices were clearly still from Steve's roadmap. The screen in the 5 and the 5S did increase ever so slightly, but that popular design of the iPhone stayed the same, but updates were more evolutionary since competitors were now fully into the same game, releasing devices inspired by Apple. It wasn't until the iPhone 6 that Apple did something that I didn't think, if Steve Jobs was alive, would happen. We not only got a design change, but 2 larger devices from Apple. The iPhone 6 with a 4.7-inch display, and the 6 Plus equipped with a 5.5-inch screen, which then was absolutely massive.
That's what she said.
The entire original iPhone fit into the footprint of the screen on the 6 Plus. Honestly, I don't think Steve Jobs would have agreed with this design, because whenever he described the iPhone, he stated that it was the perfect size for one-handed use and you could reach all around the screen. What Apple did do with changing sizes is turn the ability to use this phone for more production purposes. A nice large screen for emailing, editing videos, photos, the list goes on. It opened up the idea that your phone could be a workhorse for you on the go. Added back on the 5S, the fingerprint sensor was something people grew to love so much. With the adoption of the larger phones, it did make it easier to handle the phone, and since your hand was already in that familiar position, it was certainly easy to unlock your phone without having to enter a password. Let's be honest, the amount of iPhone 8 and 8 Pluses that we still see in use today is absolutely insane. Talk about a popular phone. The design change, however, was highly criticized because of how much people liked the old look. Because the phones were getting larger, I think Apple needed to make sure these were comfortable to hold. Imagine the complaints if they didn't change the design, but they got larger. It seems like a lose-lose situation. Do you agree with my choices so far in the timeline of revolutionary iPhones? Did I miss something that was revolutionary with other phones? Do you think Steve Jobs would have agreed with the larger phones? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. I remember when phones actually started getting bigger than the 6 Plus. The joke was, how big are these things gonna get? At one point, we took phones and tablets, combined it together and just called them phablets. Some of these phones were even larger than the ones we have today, thus proving that it did get too big. After the 6 and 6 Plus, the market kinda hit a lull in my opinion. Yes, we got new phones and an extra camera, but nothing seemed to really be a game changer. In fact, the design stayed the same through the iPhone 8, and people were bashing Apple, saying that they were lazy with this design. Of course, it didn't take long, because in that same year, 2017, Apple announced the iPhone X. The new era of a full screen and Face ID was the next revolutionary move for Apple. The Touch ID had gotten really good over the years, and people weren't sure how secure the new Face ID was going to be. It wasn't perfect, but it was damn close to start. So now you've got 3 phones to choose from, 2 with buttons, 1 without. Those who weren't ready to give up on their home buttons didn't have to worry yet. But it was clear this was going to be the last year that we see that familiar home button. The iPhone X was something that us fanboys had been clamoring for a while. Gone was the chin and the well, most of the top. The notch definitely was noticed. However, it was easy to see that some of the most important components to make the phone worked were housed in the notch. Yes, it was made fun of until other phones ended up doing the same thing. Then it wasn't so funny, now was it? It became the norm. Honestly, I really stopped caring when I got the phone and moved on in no time. With the larger display came new technology that made it look really sharp and clean. While the screen got larger, the body actually got smaller than the Plus, making the phone pretty comfortable to use. That doesn't seem like it would make much sense, but it was. Shocker. Oh, and Apple's still criticized today because they have that notch on the phone. I may get a lot of angry comments for this, but after the iPhone X, Apple hasn't really done anything revolutionary with their phones. If you look at what they've done, it's all evolutionary. The phones got a little bigger, they added a 3rd camera, people made memes on how many cameras are gonna be added next. We saw some new colors. Yes, the iPhone 12 brought the familiar squared off look back, and many people, including me, welcomed it as a great update. However, not anything to call revolutionary. Some may argue the battery life has gotten so much better. To be honest, no it hasn't. Apple has just included a larger and larger battery, higher wattage plugs to be able to charge faster, and through software, it has been able to get better results with the battery life. But the battery technology hasn't really been able to keep up with the demands of the phone being able to operate at a high level. Anyone who actually uses their phone during the day needs to charge it before, this guy, or at bedtime. There are only a handful of people that I know that can barely go into the next day, and that's because they don't use their phones all that often. Don't tell me that the camera and video functions are revolutionary either. Yes, they've gotten better, but Apple added the 2nd camera with the iPhone 7 Plus in 2016. 5 years later, the iPhone 13 still has 2 lenses. Yes, we got the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max that get the 3 lenses in 2019, but many people weren't interested in dropping $1,000+ for an extra lens and pro features. Still not something people even care about. Look, I'm not saying that if you bought an iPhone 10, you should still be using it today, but if someone bought an iPhone 10 brand new this year, would they notice a difference in performance? How about the camera? If you don't think so, then you need to take off the rose-colored Apple glasses. And this is coming from someone who's an Apple fanboy through and through. When the user experience starts becoming less optimal, it's certainly time to start looking. There are a couple things you can do as far as people who never back up their phone, never clear off their apps, photos, and videos. This uses up all the space, potentially causing the phone to slow down. Don't want to delete those pictures or use the iCloud. Again, I get it. And of course, this is the time that it starts to look for an upgrade to get more storage. None of those needs require you to go drop $800, $900, $1,000 on the latest and greatest. Because the latest and greatest isn't going to offer you something that is so life-changing. If you've watched most of my recent videos, I talk a lot about not having to buy the newest all the time to have a great experience. Unless you can get a great deal on the newest and not pay retail, then I say go for it. Besides that, buying a previous generation is not that bad of an idea. I will tell you another thing. If you think this year's iPhone is going to be that phone, it's not. More new colors, slight spec bump, and whatever marketing ploy Apple has up their sleeve. Let's not forget the rumors of a larger iPhone being called the 14 Max. Yep, same size phone as the 14 Pro Max, minus all the Pro features. Oh, and the non-Pro phones are rumored to have the same chip that's in the iPhone 13s. And last but not least, potential that these phones are gonna cost more. Nothing I would recommend to someone who's using a phone that's working as needed this year. So, what's the next revolutionary Apple device? If I knew that, I'd be making a lot of money. For a few years, we've seen companies trying to change the game with foldable devices. Some of them look pretty good, too. Apple has even been rumored to be testing the same kind of thing. The fact that they're testing it doesn't necessarily make it revolutionary, but if they are able to solve the problems people are currently having with the products out now and find a way to market it to those who want to buy it, that might be considered game-changing. But really, only time will tell. Until then, why don't you go ahead and check out my playlists for some of my thoughts on what Apple is doing lately. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on notification bell so you don't miss my next video. You all have a great day.